Hey, what's going on? So in this video, I want to show you how to find the perfect niche and city to build your virtual real estate property. So one of the examples that I've always used of a site of mine that's very successful is this Asheville towing website here. So it's up there on the maps, and if you scroll down, it's somewhere between one, and sometimes it fluctuates between the first and second ranking in Google for the term Asheville towing, and it generates about 400 to 500 calls a month. So the real question is, I've obviously never been to Asheville, North Carolina before. I've grown up in California. In fact, I did even high school in India. So I've been all over the place. I've been to 30 plus countries, never been to Asheville, North Carolina. So it must beg the question, why? Why did I build this website in this niche in this city? And so we're going to dive right into niching and kind of figuring out the research of what niche and city to build your site in. Now, before we dive into that, it is a pretty big concept. So I'm going to talk and kind of go long here. My gut at the beginning of this video is this is probably going to go up to an hour long. So all I ask is if there's any questions through any of this, we do have coaching calls that we'll do. Obviously, if anyone's really stuck, you guys have support, things like that. And these videos are adaptable. We'll add notes and things below the videos. We will also update the videos. But I want to riff here because I feel the only way people can really understand this concept of how to find their niche and city and build these properties is for me to really just long form talk through, show examples, and it's a little bit messy, but in my experience, that's the best way to learn this. So before we dive into anything, let's start at the very beginning here. So the very first thing I want to go into is, how does Google search even work? How does this even work? How is it that when I type in any word into the Google search bar, so let's say I type in the word iPhone, why is it that, if I go below these two ads here, why is it that apple.com/iPhone shows up as the first result? Why not something else? Why is it so good at kind of finding the perfect search results? And so to understand this, kind of breaks down into two components. So the first thing Google does is Google wants to make sure whatever you type into the search engine, it looks for results that have kind of the same word. This is called a keyword into the search results. So obviously, as you can see with all these results here, if you look below, this has the word iPhone, and obviously apple.com, the second result, does not have the word iPhone, but it's pretty relevant, and it says in the description the word iPhone there. And if you kind of scroll, there's news articles, iPhone, iPhone, iPhone. You get the idea. So that's kind of like your first part of this, which is Google's matching search results. Because you can imagine if I typed in, for example, going back to the Asheville towing example, imagine if I typed in Asheville towing into Google search and all the search results here were about roofers in, I don't know, Miami, Florida. I think we can all agree that it wouldn't take a whole lot of Google doing that, where we would stop using Google. And I know what people are thinking, well, Google's huge. Who's not going to use Google? Well, history is short. And maybe you remember 5-10 years ago when you used Yahoo as a search engine, or, there's all sorts of search engines back in the day, AOL, Yahoo. And the reason why those search engines kind of died, I mean, Yahoo basically is not even really existent today, and Google is this huge, $1 trillion company, is because Yahoo's search results were slow, they were inaccurate, and sorry to be crass here, what was happening on a lot of those old search engines was you would type in something like you're looking for a tow truck, and let's say you typed in Asheville towing, and it would just show a towing site in a different city, or even worse, sorry for being crass again, it would show like a pornography website or something incredibly inappropriate, or it show like some scammy thing on selling you Viagra, right? So it was Google who came up with the second part of Google's algorithm, kind of the second component to this, and that's called a term, it's called backlinks. Now, once again, we're going to hold this conversation and let me quickly try to explain backlinks to you. So to do this, I'm going to go here and I'm just going to look up a random Wikipedia article. So I'm going to just look up the Wikipedia article on the city of Asheville. So here we go. Here's just Wikipedia, and hopefully, I'm guessing you guys have used Wikipedia. You've landed on Wikipedia. It tends to rank really high in Google for almost everything. So if you haven't seen Wikipedia before, that would blow my mind. But here's a Wikipedia article. So to explain backlinking, you see this webpage here, and you see all these words here in the blue. If I click on any of these, so let's say I click in the word city, it now takes me to the Wikipedia page of city. And let's say I click on here, human settlement, it takes me to the Wikipedia page of human settlement. This is considered a link. So I want to say that again. This is considered a link. Anytime you click on text or anything on a web page, it could be an image as well, and it links you to some other place, kind of in this case on Wikipedia, that's considered a link. Now, what's considered a backlink? Well, we can kind of use deduction here. If these pages here that go within Wikipedia are considered a link, if I go to, I'm going to go to the bottom here and just click on one of these random links. So we're on Wikipedia, right? You can look up here. We're on Wikipedia. Let's click on one of these links here. Look, we're now on Britannica, right? So in the term backlink, that Wikipedia page is a backlink for this Britannica.com page. So basically, you can consider it like a +1. It's a good thing for this webpage. This webpage here benefits because that Wikipedia site is linking to this page. Makes sense? So it's like basically it's like the Wikipedia page is giving a shout out to this Britannica page. So that's considered a backlink. Now, why is this important? Well, because Google has a really difficult second problem here. And going back to, we'll go back to the iPhone search result. And the second problem Google has is great. Look, it's showing all these search results that are related to the iPhone. So we got the first part, which is it's matching the keyword, right? The keyword. But how does it know how to rank these articles, right? How does it know how to rank what's number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4? Well, one of the main factors, and there's a lot of factors, but one of the main factors Google figured out early on, this is about 15, 20 years ago when Google kind of got started, is they said, wait a minute, we should rank the websites by popularity, right? But how do you figure out popularity? Well, the way they figured out popularity is by how many other websites on the web are shouting out that site. How many other websites on the web are talking about that website? So in the case of apple.com, as you can imagine, or apple.com/iPhone, the reason why this is the number 1 result is because all across the web, there's so many websites that when they, let's say, do the review of the iPhone on the New York Times or any blog, or people are blogging about the iPhone, what do they tend to say? Hey, I love my iPhone. If you want to go buy one, buy it at apple.com/iPhone. And they link to Apple's site. Google counts all of this and says, okay, if someone's looking for iPhone, they're most likely looking for apple.com/iPhone. So backlinks, it's a pretty big concept. And like I said, I'm trying to pack in a lot of information here. And then over the next, over the videos, you'll start to understand these concepts. But I really want to think big picture here to show you that backlinks, the number of other websites that talk about your site, is a big influence to how you rank. Now, there's a huge caveat to this. And what's that caveat is, well, people got really smart. Right? People got smart 15, 20 years ago when Google started, and they went and they gave, let's say you have my, I'll give an example here of, let's take a look at here. Let me pull up a pool deck website in, let's say, Phoenix, Arizona. So let me pull up this website here. So this is a pool deck website in Phoenix, Arizona. And basically, the problem that was happening is in the early days of Google, people were basically saying, well, why don't I just go and buy a bunch of crappy, terrible links from pornography websites, from spammy websites, from websites in China, have them linked to my site, and then magically my website's going to rank #1 because it has a lot more links than the other people on the search page. Well, the problem with that is that obviously, that gave really bad search results. So Google fixed this, and they basically put a weightage score to the links. So links are not created equal. So what does that even mean? What that means is quite simply that, let's say you have your website. Let's say you built this Pool Deck Phoenix site, and let's say there's two websites. So there's a Pool Deck. Let's say there's site #1 and there's site #2. Site #1 has one backlink, but that backlink is on the homepage of Pools Magazine, or even better, on the homepage of Forbes.com or Oprah Winfrey's blog or some really big notable blog. And it says, Pool Deck Phoenix is the greatest pool deck site in the history of the world. And it's from, like I said, a big publication, Forbes.com, New York Times, CNN, Fox News, some big publication talks about your pool deck site. But it's just one link. There's only one website talking about your website. Site #2 has 100 websites talking about it. But those 100 websites are pornography, scammy links in China, and links that have nothing to do with pools or any type of authority whatsoever. They have no credibility. Google's going to look at that one link, and they're actually going to rank that website higher than the site with 100 links. Make sense? So it's not just the number of links, it's the quality of links. And the key to getting ranked #1 here is you want to basically have better every metric, but in our example so far, you want to have better keywords and content, right? You want to make sure these words here match as close as they do and have good information. And the second part is you want to have better links quality-wise and number than your competition. Your competition would be these guys down here, #2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and onwards. Hopefully that makes sense. So I really hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I highly recommend pause the video and actually go back to the beginning of the video and rewatch up to this point and see if, now that you've heard kind of the stuff I'm talking about, if now in context it makes sense. Now moving on. So we're talking about how to find the market to get into. So what I highly recommend, and I really recommend having the best tool. I'm a person, I've always been a less is more, keep it simple. I think it's really easy in business to overcomplicate, buy a lot of tools, buy a fancy computer, buy all this fancy stuff, and kind of have shiny object syndrome, buy other courses. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to focus. This business, I keep things really simple, but the one thing I don't compromise on is having a really good tool. So the tool I like to use is a tool called Ahrefs. And Ahrefs is a tool, it's an SEO tool. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it's a tool that's designed to help you understand how strong or weak websites are on the internet. So I'm going to repeat that. So the tool is called Ahrefs, ahrefs.com, and it's a tool that I love and use, and it's a tool that helps you understand how strong or weak websites are on the internet. And so we'll go here and I'm going to use this Pool Deck website here as an example. And funny enough, it's not directly, well, I'll show you here in a second. So you'll see here, Pool Deck, and you'll see a bunch of metrics here. So let's take a look. So you'll see here that the Pool Deck Phoenix site has a bunch of these numbers, a bunch of these squiggly numbers. What the heck do these numbers mean? So I'm going to go through these numbers for you. And in fact, before we dive into all this craziness, what I would love for you guys to do is, one, get an Ahrefs account. So Ahrefs is a little pricey. So what you can do is, in the Facebook group, you can actually go make a post that, hey, I'm looking to get an Ahrefs account. And what you can do is you guys can share accounts. Ahrefs lets you share, like up to 7 people can kind of share a login. I think Ahrefs is $99 a month for their beginner plan, so it is a little bit pricey. So definitely have a few students share it, split it for $10 a month each or something like that, $15 a month each between 7 students, and you should be able to get in there. But inside of Ahrefs, what you're going to do is Ahrefs, once you sign up, get an account, they actually have an SEO toolbar. And let me show that to you here. So here it is, SEO toolbar. So what you need for this is, one, you need the Google Chrome web browser. If you do not have Google Chrome, literally just type in the word Google Chrome into Google, scroll down here, Google Chrome, click that and download it. It's for Mac, PC, everything. Google also sells these laptops. They're like $200, $300 called Chromebooks. There are laptops that literally all they do is run Google Chrome. So you want to have Google Chrome. I know there's better browsers out there, but Google Chrome to me allows you to use this extension. And obviously we're ranking websites on Google. Using Google's browser to rank websites on Google is the smartest move here. So go to ahrefs.com/SEO toolbar and download this plugin. So you click that to download it, and then you install it. In my case, I already have it. And then what you want to do is, and what it does is basically, let's go to Google here. And right now I'm in San Diego, California. So if I type in the word, let's say the word towing San Diego into Google search, it's going to show these reviews, right? Our normal Google search. However, I just activate the Ahrefs plugin right here, and look what happens. It shows these little boxes below. So you'll see all these metrics will show up below on every search result, and the numbers, they'll actually number it as well. So I'm going to show that to you on and off. So here in my toolbar there, and if it's hidden, by the way, if you don't see this up here in the toolbar when you activate the plugin, if you click on this little puzzle piece, sometimes it might be hidden underneath this puzzle piece. But if I click it once, it deactivates, it goes away. It's just a normal Google search page. If I click it again, it shows all this information. Now, what the heck does any of this mean? So once again, I'm going to explain what it means. Do not get overwhelmed. I'm going to circle back and then give you context to help you understand it. So let's start with this box down here is broken up into 2 sections. The first section is this box here, and this box here is under page. It's for the page, and you have which stands for URL rating. It's a scale from 1 to 100, and it basically shows how strong the URL is. I'll circle back to that in a second. BL stands for the word we talked about, backlinks, which is the total number of backlinks pointing to this site. We have RD, which stands for referring domain. So I'll get into that in a second, but basically it's considered, RD is just a fancy word for unique backlinks. You have ST, which is, we never use this metric, but it's basically Ahrefs. They try to do all sorts of trickery and magic to try to guess how many people visit this website a month. So in this case, it thinks about 300 people a month visit the website. I hate this feature of Ahrefs. It's completely wrong, and I'll explain it to you later too. But that's what ST stands for, site traffic. So estimated site traffic per month. And then KW stands for keywords, which in Ahrefs terms means the number of keywords this website ranks for that land in the top 100 spots of Google. Meaning that, for example, let's say this website not only ranks for towing San Diego, but it also ranks number 1 for San Diego towing, or San Diego roadside assistance, or San Diego wrecker service. Get the idea? It would show all the different variations of words that this website ranks for, as long as it shows up in the first 100 spots. And then you have this entire box replicated, and this is all this metrics here is referring to this page. But then you have the domain, and the domain is, you have a few metrics here. So you have DR, which is a scale from 1 to 100, and basically means kind of Ahrefs is giving it a rating from 1 to 100, 100 being the best of how strong they think the website the website's like backlinks, or the website's kind of strength is on Google, how good Ahrefs thinks the site is to rank to top terms on Google. AR stands for Ahrefs rank. I absolutely hate this metric again. Basically what Ahrefs does, it's really stupid. They take every web page and they rank it from literally 1 being the biggest website in the world to, 1 trillionth, which is like the smallest web page in the world. And number 1, I think right now is Facebook. The number 2 biggest site in the world is Google. Number 3 is, YouTube. You get the idea, and so on and so forth. So ignore that, but AR stands for Ahrefs rank. BL stands for backlinks, but the difference is on the domain part, this is backlinks for the entire website. So I'll explain that in a bit. RD is called referring domain, same thing for the entire website. ST is the estimated site traffic for the entire website, and KW is the keywords for the entire website. So to kind of hone this point in, I'm actually going to let's look at result number 3 here, which is a Yelp result. So you can see yelp.com, and it says top 10 best towing company in San Diego, California. And right here, you can see 2 boxes. So obviously you have the page metrics, and you can look, these metrics are pretty low relatively, right? There's 0 backlinks on the page. What does the page mean? So the page in this case means this page box here is referring to literally yelp.com/search find, equals towing plus company, location equals San Diego. That entire ugly web page, it's showing the metrics of just this, right? And so you can see these metrics are pretty low, right? 0 backlinks, 0 referring domain, pretty, low estimated site traffic. Once again, ignore that. It's useless. And it ranks for 27 keywords. But hopefully, I know some people here are international, actually, and quite a bit of you are from different countries. So hopefully you guys have heard of Yelp.com before. Yelp is a massive website. And so, they obviously have thousands upon pages. They rank for all sorts of like directory things. And if you look here on the domain is referring to everything that falls under Yelp.com. Everything that falls under Yelp.com. So you'll see, look at these metrics. It has a DR of 94. It has a domain rating, almost a perfect score, right? It's out of 100. 94 is incredibly powerful. It has an Ahrefs rank of 52, meaning Ahrefs says it's the 52nd biggest site in the world. So there's only like 50 sites bigger than Yelp on planet Earth. It shows that it has 195 million backlinks, and that those backlinks come from 915,000 different websites. It has an estimated site traffic of 142 million, and it ranks for over 48 million keywords within the top 100 spots of Google. So this, does it make sense? Are you guys getting this? Which is basically the page value here is for this long thing, but the domain is for all of Yelp. And the reason why that's so important is because when we use this tool to look at how competitive or non-competitive a website is, it's so easy to look at the search result and go, oh my God, look at how powerful the site is. But no, this is a lie, because that's talking about all of Yelp. This page here is not that strong, which is the page we care about. But however, if you look at, if you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see in the search results here, and I'll try to zoom in a little bit. But do you see how the first result, in this upper part here, it stops at the .com. So it goes towingsanDiegoinc.com, and that's it. And you can see the second result's the same thing, Angelo's towing.com, and that's it. But if you see on the third result, it goes yelp.com, and there's like that gray, it turns to gray, right? It's a gray arrow search, gray arrow find, and a bunch of stuff. And same thing, we can keep scrolling. So this one stops at the .com, this stops at the .com. But look at this, .gov, and it turns gray. This is where you can tell, and basically the gray means that it's not actually, the site's not a dedicated site. So it's kind of going to like an offshoot of a page. Google prefers these. Google prefers to send you to a dedicated site, a dedicated result that ends in .com or .net or .org or .gov or something, but it stops here. So when you see, going back to the first result here, when you see the result where it goes to .com and it stops, you'll notice that these metrics here, these are metrics now on the domain side that actually make a lot of sense. And I do want to pay attention to it because these metrics here are actually referring to the thing that's ranking. Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense. Whereas on here, on the Yelp result, which is number 3, these metrics here have nothing to do with anything because the page that's actually showing up number 3 is not just yelp.com, right? It's yelp.com / a bunch of stuff. So if you see gray in this top area, this is the metrics you want to look at. If you see it end in dot, you don't see any gray arrow, you don't see any of that little arrow thing in the search result, you can now look at this side. I really hope that makes sense. And obviously on our coaching calls, if you have any questions, you can ask me. But basically, San Diego is a huge city. So we'll look here, San Diego population. San Diego's like 1.41 million people. 1.41 million people. And I bet you, if you looked up the average income, it's probably higher than average America. Or not. Actually, that's pretty shocking. Oh, I guess household, sorry. If you look at household income here, you can see it is higher. It's $79,673 is the household income of someone in San Diego. So 1.4 million people, really big city. And that's why if you actually look at me searching towing San Diego, what you'll immediately notice is you'll notice in this map section, look at this thing here. It says in the maps, and it's probably hard to see, but it says 7+ years in business, has 93 reviews. So this is a business that's been around, has a lot of activity in it. You'll see the next one doesn't have that much activity, just 1 review, but it's been around for 3+ years. And the third review is 24 reviews, 5+ years in business. And then we scroll down to the website part of this, and we're going to notice the first result is a dedicated website. It's towingsanDiegoinc.com. I mean, this basically almost kind of tells you this is someone who knows how to rank a website, because not only do they have a dedicated website above, but you'll notice, look at these metrics, it has a DR of 5. Anything, in my opinion, above a DR of 0, especially a DR of like 2 or 3, starts to indicate for me a little bit more, especially, in this case where it's a dedicated site and now we can look at this information here, that this is a pretty decent website. And if you're seeing here, backlinks, 53 backlinks, but more importantly, I like to look at referring domain. So let me explain the difference between backlink and referring domain. And I promise all of this will click once I explain all of this and you get to the end of the video and probably the beginning of next, this will all make a lot of sense. The reason why these I like to look at actually RD, I actually prefer to look at RD than BL, is because going back to the spammer analogy where I said, people were linking a bunch of pornography websites or websites in the Middle East or China to the website, let's say to your towing site, and great, it ranks. Well, the reason why that's a terrible idea is because the quality, right? Those sites are terrible quality. But there's a second problem to this. Let's say you have a good link, but let's say I go on a website and I link to, I say towing, or on a website I link to Apple iPhone 4 or 5 times on one web page. Well, according to this metric here, even if one site shouts me out like 6 times in a row, it will count it as individual backlinks. Whereas referring domain, it counts if one website talks about your links to you, it's just counted as one under referring domain. Make sense? So this to me is a little bit more, I guess, a better metric to look at. So this site has 24 sites and has a DR of 5. So a lot of times, kind of a cool thing to understand is if a site only has 24 links, 24, and it has a DR of 5, and let's look at the second result here. The second result here has 107 referring domain, but only a DR of 3. So what does this tell you? Think about this. This has only 24 links and it's ranked number 1. It's ranked higher than this number 2 guy. Has 24, but a DR of 5. This has 107, almost 5 times more, right? 4 to 5 times more than this guy of links. But it actually has a lower DR score than this. What it means is his links are of lower quality in the eyes of Google And so, I can click into this, in theory, I can actually click in to this button here and it would open up Ahrefs. So I'll show this to you, but I don't want you to really worry about this. And it will actually show you all the links, all the different websites that are shouting them out. And the funny part is I'll tell you those websites, DR, the backlinks DR and metrics and stuff. So we're going to ignore that. This is way too deep in the weeds. But basically you can tell this website has higher quality links than this website. Hence why, even though this has only 24 links, it's outranking the site with 107. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Now let's jump into how the heck are we going to use all of this data? I said a lot of things. I told you a lot of different metrics. I told you Ahrefs, the toolbar. Well, how are we going to use any of this to find the niche and city you should go into? So the first thing, the first rule is when you're brand new, if this is your first website you're ever going to make that you're going to rank and rent, right, using this model, I want you to go into a city that is less than 50,000 in population. I'm going to say that again. If you are brand new and this is your first time ever building one of these sites, I want you to go into a niche that is less than 50,000 in population. So let's take an example. So what I'll do is there's actually a city I used to live in called Foster City, California. It's in the Bay Area. And look at this. It's only 33,000 people. Foster City, California. So this would be a city that would qualify, right? Less than 50,000. Let's pick a different city. I'm trying to think on the top of my head here. I bet you Santa Ana is bigger. So let's take a look at Santa Ana, California. Yep, this is way too big. So we're not going to do it if you're a beginner. And let's pick another one for giggles. Let's actually look at Asheville, North Carolina. I'd like to say it's 80,000. 90,000 in population. So this, if you're a beginner, I still would say this is a little bit on the bigger side. Once you have at least one paying client, then I say go into a population of 50,000 to 350,000. So I'm going to say that again. Once you actually have a client, I like to stay within 50,000 to 350,000 in population. Really important that there's obviously no rock hard science between this. The only reason why I like to focus on smaller cities is because if you think about it, if you're a big fancy marketing firm, right? If you're a big fancy marketing firm, or you're someone like me, right? You guys know I've done this a long time. I've made a lot of money doing this. For me, who actually has a lot of skills and a lot of expertise and a lot of income and a lot of money in the bank, well, I have the skills and ability. For what I know how to rank for San Diego towing, or even better, I have the skills and ability to rank for San Diego attorney, right? I'm very confident that I can outrank this website here, like websites like this that literally have, look at this, Sevens Legal. I believe I can outrank websites that have, over 343 backlinks, but with a quality that gives it a DR29. These are insanely high quality of links, right? And I know this will cost me a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of expertise, but I have that ability. And this site will probably, by the way, if I made a site like this that ranked for this, it'll probably pay me $4,000 to $10,000 a month easy. And so why would you want to compete against me, right? You wouldn't want to compete against me if you're brand new into this, or anyone smart and very skilled in this space. What's funny is people overlook these smaller cities. So to me, these smaller cities tend to be incredibly easy, where I honestly believe, and I've seen it, I've seen straight, 12-year-olds learn kind of, me explain this to them and them be able to rank number one into these smaller cities. So one, stay under 50,000 in population if you're a beginner. Once you have at least one paying client, 50,000 to 350,000 in population. The second thing you want to do is pick a niche. You want to try some niches out, right? So there's actually a really good page here, and I'm going to link it for you in the bottom, but it's thumbtack.com/more-services. And this page here actually shows you, if I scroll, it shows all the different niches you can go into. So it's literally hundreds of niches. When I told you, I know a lot of times I show you examples of towing or tree care or something like that. No, there's a lot of different niches you can go into. So here's a really, really compelling list of different things. So let's pick something for fun. So let's go here and let's pick something. I'm gonna pick, let's say roofing, right? Let's pick roofing, or even piano moving, right? So let's say type in piano moving. So let's go back to Google, and I'm gonna type in piano moving, Foster City, California. So there's some ads. This is a good thing, by the way, because if you see ads, what does that tell you? It tells you there's a market demand that, remember, these people are willing to pay Google usually a few dollars every time someone clicks on it. So that's a good sign. That means people are willing to pay for your leads. Let's go down here. Let's look at the maps. Look, 0 reviews, right? We're seeing 7 years in business, 7 years in business, 7 years in business. So that's a little bit, I'd prefer if there weren't that, they weren't that long in business, all 3 here. But if you look at kind of the bottom part here, the organic part, and let's open up the Ahrefs toolbar. And of course, there we go, it's loading. We have Yelp, so directory site. So I'm going to kind of skip this for now. I'm going to look for the first dedicated website. So Yelp again. Okay, we're going to kind of ignore this. Let's keep going. This site, Cortera, I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's a directory site. It looks like it. It has the gray arrows, gray stuff. And yeah, looking at these metrics, it kind of looks, when these metrics look crazy and these metrics look like really bad, usually this means this is a directory site. We have Thumbtack, same thing, directory site. And let's keep going here. robertspianoservice.com. So do you see how, like, this is kind of a good learning lesson here. Do you see how this site, just by looking at the fact it's Robert's Piano Service, it looks a little bit, this is more of a dedicated website. I know it doesn't end at the .com. Like, let me show you, like number 8 is more of a better example, because San Mateo is the city next door, like the county Foster City's in. San Mateo Piano is the perfect example, number 8, because obviously it just ends at the .com. There's no gray arrow. But if you kind of look at robertspianoservice.com, it's still clearly a dedicated site. And if you look at these metrics on the domain side, it doesn't look that crazy, so I would click on that and look at that. So I'll put that as a tab. By the way, I don't know if you have a Mac or PC. I think it's Control on a PC. If you Control click on links, I think they open in new tabs. On Mac, it's Command click, or you can just right click and hit open in new tab. And then same here, we look at number 8. Number 8's our true competition, because this is a dedicated website. This is in the county. Foster City's in San Mateo County, San Mateo Piano. So I want to look at these metrics here. And if I look, okay, these metrics look pretty up there. 31 referring domain, 23 UR. I look at the referring domain, 43 referring domain for the domain. So obviously San Mateo is a bigger area. So they're trying to rank for all sorts of cities in the San Mateo County. So this is a decently powerful site. And so based on these metrics alone, what I want is when you find in a search result kind of the dedicated website here, I want you to look for situations where the dedicated website either does not exist on page 1 of Google at all, or if it does exist, these metrics are as close to 0. The DR is as close to 0. The RD is as close to 0 as possible. And then same thing here, which would be, the RD of the page is as close to 0 as possible. If it's like 5 or 6, even up to 10, that's fine. I prefer DRs that are really close to 0. And the kind of prove this point, my actual towing site is a terrible site. Like I said, it's one of the first projects I've ever done. I mean, I'd never make something this hideous ever again. I mean, you've seen the website 100 times. Look at this. I mean, my site ranks number 1 and has a DR of 0. Has 17 referring domains, but DR 0. So these are terrible links. But why is it number 1? Because what's my competition? This is a directory site. Google favors dedicated websites. So directory site, MapQuest directory site. This is a .gov directory site again, or not direct, it's not an official towing site. Some weird page. So we keep going. This is my real competition, number 6. And look at how
nonsense this is. It's basically a 0 DR as well, and only 8 referring domain. So do you see that? This is a good example. So if this number 6 result here, this number 6 result, like that's, their metrics are less than my metrics up here, which is why I'm number 1. So you always want to, so basically the formula is simple. You search city, it's city, or sorry, my bad, niche, and then city slash kind of state initial. So for example, like I said, I do like towing, let's say towing Foster City, California, right? So here we go, and we can look at no reviews. So look at this, no reviews, but it is 7+ years in business, but also no website, no directions. You'll see here that this one does have a website and directions and 3+ years in business, but 1 review. And look at this bottom result here. It has only 1 star, 1 review, and it doesn't even say how many years in business, which probably implies that it's brand new, and it doesn't have a website attached. So this map listing here looks pretty open. This looks pretty open to me. So the maps look kind of good. And then let's go down here. Look at these results for towing Foster City, California. Yelp is nope. This is a directory site. Number 2, directory site. True Towing is a directory site. It's a little bit, obviously it's a little relevant because it has the word towing in its domain and it is about towing. So I might open that. Go down Yellow Pages, jrop.com. If you look here, you can tell, okay, it's interesting. I want to see what it is. I'll click on it, but it looks like a directory site. This is my first real competition right here, number 7. Number 7 is my only real competition. It's redlinetowsanmateo.com. It's a 7th result, and look at this. Look at it. DR of 0. It only has 13 referring domain. And let's look at even the page here, which is talking about the root redlinetowsanmateo.com. This only has 5 referring domain. So this is a great example of my competition number 7 here. It doesn't have the word Foster City in the title. It doesn't have Foster City in the domain. It has the county name. Google's so desperate to find a dedicated result, it's just throwing this up here anyway. Even though it is a county, so there's some relevancy there. It has no power to it. As a DR0, it's basically saying these links are garbage, and it only has 13 of them. So this to me looks pretty wide open. Let's keep going. This is once again fostercity.org directory site. You can tell from these metrics directory, so we're going to skip that. Look, here we go. Here's another dedicated site, Action Tow and Recovery. And I'm happy this example showed. You look here, it does have better metrics, DR13, 43 referring domain. But why am I not too concerned about this? Because if you actually take a look, and I can even see it down here highlighted, this ranks for a completely different city, Redwood City. So if I open this site, so let's open it really quick. I mean, this site here, it's not even really about Foster City. It's kind of San Francisco Peninsula, Redwood City, South San Francisco. These areas are super far away from Foster City. But still, Google's so desperate to put a dedicated site on their search page that they're going to just put this there because screw it, right? If we can't find something in Foster City or something, and we already put the only good San Mateo result up here, I guess we're going to now go to Redwood City and put a dedicated site. And look at number 10, redwoodcitytow.com. So this would be a phenomenal city and niche to enter. Obviously, don't go into this specific example. I already have a student who's working on it as we speak, but hopefully this gives you an example of what's considered wide open. So hopefully this video gives you a good example. So you would just keep going and doing it. So you would keep going to Thumbtack. Let's pick a couple of these. Let's do 2 more of these. Let's look at window tinting. Here's a niche, looks interesting. So let's search window tinting, and let me pick a different city. Let's see, list of cities in California. I'm just going to look for a list of cities in California ranked by population. So let's get a little list here. So let's open this. And it shows obviously Los Angeles is the biggest. I'm in California, so obviously you can use any state, any country, any example. So don't get confused. Use any location, state, whatever you want. But I'm just trying to find a small city here. So let's just scroll down. Let's find something less than 50,000 in population. So let's I'm just going down Lincoln. Perfect. Lincoln, California. So we're going to go here. We're going to type in Lincoln, California, right? And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to type in the beginning, I'm going to type in window tinting, Lincoln, California. And look at this. The first thing in the maps, we're going to see only 6 reviews. It is 7+ years in business, but there is no website. There's nothing, right? There's nothing attached to this. The second result here, we see no website and no mention of how long it's been in business, which is a great sign, and only 1 review. So that's good. Look at the second one, same thing. No sign of how long it's been in business on this third one here. In fact, you know what's so funny? This is actually my website, which is hysterical. This is actually me in a different city, and it's showing up in Lincoln. That's so hilarious. This is actually my site. So it shows you, here we are, where I accidentally stumbled across a site that pays me. The site pays me $1,000 a month. So look at this, 20+ years in business. 20+ years in business, website, 32 reviews, pretty high ranking. And look, this shows third. It's such a strong listing that it's showing up for even this city that's not directly in. We go down here, it's going to show Yelp, which is really poor. These metrics here are really poor. Obviously, Yelp is a directory site, so we're going to skip it. We don't care about the domain side. Same thing here. These metrics are 0. We don't care. Let's keep going. Dealers.lamar. Nope. Directory site. Skip. We're gonna skip. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Arden Way Audio, this is kind of a result, not really. Yellow Pages. So these are all directory sites. So let's keep going. Let's go to number 2 here. Here we go. On number 2, on page 2, we have Efficient Tint, residential and commercial window film. And they serve a bunch of cities, Rockland, Roseville, Granite Bay. And one of those cities, Lincoln, probably falls in the area. And you can see here, DR of 2, not high at all. Only 7 referring domain. So all the way on page 2, this dedicated site has virtually no metrics. So if you built window tinting Lincoln.com as your website URL, build your site, this is a great niche to get into. So this is wide open. This is a wide open, low-hanging fruit. I would get into this niche in this project. Let's do one more. One thing also that's really good to see, and Ahrefs has this little keywords here. And this little keywords box right here, and it'll give you suggestions. So just make sure you don't fall into the trap where if you're typing window tinting, well, what if people are typing car tinting, right? So just for the giggles, type in that different word, and still we're seeing 1 review, no mention of how long it's been in business, 6 reviews, no website. This one's a little strong, 37 with the website. This is an ad. So that's good. It shows that there's business, there's traffic, and someone's willing to pay dollars upon dollars per click. So it shows that there's business owners willing to pay you. We have Yelp, which is a directory. So we're going to skip that. Yelp, skip. Angie, skip. This one here is a directory. We're going to skip. And pretty much same thing applies. Window tinting Folsom.com. This looks right, but look at this, DR0. 5 referring domain. This is garbage. This is a competition that is barely getting anything. This is getting no traction. I mean, the site doesn't even have a phone number, a clear big phone number, no call to action, and no metrics whatsoever. So this one would pass the test. This would be a site I would go into. So hopefully this makes, I know this is a lot to digest, but what you need to do is I always recommend that everyone start with 3 projects. So depending on where you live, you can pick any city or state you want, any niche you want on that page. Once again, on that Thumbtack list of services page, I'll go back to it here. List of services. So basically find some niches, play around with some niches here, right? Some different niches on this page that look appealing to you. Find any city and make sure you look up that city, right? Look up that city by just typing in the city name and state population. Look up a city to make sure it's less than 50,000 if you're a beginner, or 50,000 to 350,000 if you have a paying client. And then, then basically go and play around with it. So now we know Lincoln is a small city. Play around with it, right? Maybe you type in now towing. Maybe you type in tree care, right? type in different niches, and you can see here tree care that, you know, you can see the different results. I bet you this site, look at this, the number 3rd result is a dedicated site, and still pretty bad metrics. So maybe, you know, maybe this is a site, you know, obviously I'm glancing through it, but maybe this is another good niche. So come up with 3. I want everyone to come up with 3 niches plus city combinations that are considered low-hanging fruit, and then drop it into our Facebook group. Say, hey, I did the first part, my research part of the training, and these are my 3. And one of us, either myself or obviously one of my amazing people on my team, all of us get paid incredibly well, have lots of years, 6+ years of experience in this. One of us, and we all have lead gen sites and agencies and all sorts of things. We'll review those and get back to you and let you know that you're on the up and up. But that's your homework. Get 3 niches plus city combinations that are low hanging fruit. You've done your research and you determined this is a great place to enter. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks.